Hey, how's it going? This is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It's Tuesday, March 31st, and you're going to find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and come support us on Patreon. Today we're going to hear about coronavirus updates. America has a new weapon against the war on the coronavirus. Spain and Italy may be hitting their peaks, and over 600 people were arrested on the weekend in Malaysia not complying with movement control orders. So how is everyone doing? I'm sure that you guys are having a wonderful start to the day. It is already the last day of March. Tomorrow is April. And the good thing about that is, as we say, time is flying so quickly. The good thing is, it means that the lockdown time is shortening very quickly too. I hope that everyone, we're having a great time together and we can get through this lockdown together too on the Morning Star Drive. Now, first, what are we going to talk about? Of course, we're going to have our featured artist of the day, get that blood pumping with some good music. And today's featured artist comes from the Paper Music Associates label, and it is PGY. Now, PGY is not only the chief producer of the label, but also the EDM artist of the label too. And the single we're going to hear today is called Dr. Rain, featuring Zeniac. The second song we're also going to hear is from the Sumney Boys, and they're going to sing the song Winner. So everyone, just sit back and enjoy the drive.
Ever since I met you, I just feel like a winner. I don't wanna stop. SB, let's get it. Yeah. Every day I feel like I'm a winner. We just eating every time it's dinner. You're the realest trophy that I have. Everybody wishes what I have. I really show you. I don't need to pick petals off a flower just to say that I adore you. I chill with you till the sun goes down. When I'm with you, my world goes round. When you call, I come around. Even in the crowd, you're the only one I see. The others try to kiss my eye, just know you're for me. I hope they know they can't compete. Now my head is in the zone. When I'm with you, not alone. I never let you go. You're everything to me. Together we're not losing. Every day I feel like I'm a winner. We just eating every time it's dinner. You the realest trophy that I have. Everybody wishes what I have. I really wanna get to know you. Nothing feels like winning if we aren't together. I really wanna get to know you. When you are with me, everything is better. It's special every time when I'm around you. I feel like there's just something different about you. You always bring the best out of me. No limits to this love I can see. No limits when I'm on eagle's wings. Nobody touching us when we win. When lovers become one, they don't lose. I don't play no games, not with you. Every day I feel like I'm a winner. We just eating every time it's dinner. You the realest trophy that I have. Everybody wishes what I have. Every day I feel like I'm a winner. We just eating every time it's dinner. You the realest trophy that I have. Everybody wishes what I have. I really wanna get to know you. Nothing feels like winning if we aren't together. I really wanna get to know you. When you are with me, everything is better. Stay together and never apart. I love spending time with you.
And that was the Sumney Boys with the song Winner. That's from the Game Time album from 2019. And of course, the featured artist of the day from Paper Music Associates was PGY featuring Zeniac. And the single was Dr. Rain. Now, let's first get into some coronavirus updates. And of course, just want to make sure that everyone knows what's going on. I know that not everyone can look at the news all the time, but we'll look at the infection rate in the entire world right now. We've crossed like 734,000 people. So we're just creeping closer and closer to the 1 million person mark. And not only on top of that, we're anywhere from around 34,000 to 35,000 deaths so far in the world. Now, in the last 24 hours, the U.S. has added about 19,000 more infections, and they've brought their total to 143,000, and they're at 2,500 deaths, and New York alone has more than 1,000 of them. Italy, too, has added 5,200 more infections to make it 98,000 and almost 11,000 deaths, and Spain, they've drastically slowed down in their infections, but they've passed China, and they have 85,000 infections. And man, they once again went over 800 deaths in a day, and now they're at 7,300 deaths. If you really think about this, the majority of the world in their deaths are coming from, like half of it is coming from two countries of just Italy and Spain. But the good news is, as we said in the beginning, Italy and Spain kind of seem to be kind of topping off and peaking out. So we're going to see kind of another maybe a week of just kind of keeping the peak, and then it's going to slowly drop down as these like social distancing and people are keeping these like movement control orders. We're just really, really hoping that this is the peak. It's going to stay there and start dropping from this point off. But like I announced yesterday, basically the WHO said that now America is the epicenter for the coronavirus in the entire world. So that's something that's really like kind of shaking news. I have a lot of friends that are in New York, and it's like just New York itself, the state of New York is 60,000 out of like the 143,000. 60,000 of them are all in New York. And if you look just in the city of New York, I think it's supposed to be something around 35 to 38,000 just in that area. So we're really praying for the city. I'm in Malaysia right now, and Malaysia's still around 2,500 infections with 35 deaths. Singapore is kind of staying around 840, around there, 850. But they only have 3 deaths. The really surprising one I told you even yesterday was it's Indonesia. Indonesia is like closing in on about 1,300 deaths, which is about half of what Malaysia has. But they have 114 deaths, which is like 4 times what Malaysia has. So it's kind of interesting to see what's happening also in Southeast Asia too. Now, one of the things I want to talk about especially is this war on the coronavirus, and now America has a new weapon. Now, one of the reasons why this is considered a weapon is because one of the ways we're able to stop it or able to handle this virus in the best way is testing. Testing is so vital that we have to test as many people as possible so we know what is the next response we have to do. Do we have to go to another lockdown? Can we open things up? What's the next step we have to do? So what is this new weapon? Well, they actually have 2. Just a week ago, the FDA approved this new testing device, and it's from a biotech company called Cepheid. Okay, and this device can actually get you this one device. If you have this one device that's now in emergency rooms and hospitals, it can get you an answer for whether the patient has coronavirus or not in about 45 minutes, which is awesome. Right? Because it's taking like a day, 2 days, 3 days sometimes for some of these tests. But this one machine is going to take 45 minutes. And with this one machine, you can almost get 100 tests done in a single day with the results, right? But even crazier is, just recently, the FDA approved another machine. Now, this is from a company called Abbott. And this machine is basically straight from, you swab the nose and the mouth, put it directly into the machine, and it can tell you in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. It could tell you in 5 minutes whether this person is positive for the coronavirus. And interestingly, if you're not positive, like if you're negative, it takes about 13 minutes. But if it's for a positive result, it could be as quick as 5 minutes. So can you imagine this? They said these new machines will be taken out, and they'll be able to bring in about 50,000. These machines will bring in about 50,000 more test results per day. Because right now, it's just tons of people are getting their tests, but there's not many results coming out that quickly. But with these new machines, think about it. Just this new one from from Abbott, from the company Abbott, that's going to be 50,000 per day, which is crazy. Why? Because even in Korea did really well, and they were doing 10,000 a day. But just this machine alone, not including any of the other testing, is going to allow Americans to be tested and given results to 50,000 people per day. So they've been approved. We're not sure exactly about the accuracy of it, but there was a question that was asked to one of the I believe it's the Harvard Chase Health Policy School of Medicine, and one of the doctors there was basically saying we have the technology to do this type of thing, so don't think it's fake, right? So I really hope that all of us here will not look at it and doubt it, but understand that this is something that's actually happening right now. So, I hope that America, because now it's the epicenter, and they have 350 million people over there, they need to test as many as possible. They've already tested more than Korea's done altogether. But because the population is 8 times bigger than Korea, they need to be doing even more than the 10,000. Which means they should, if they want to be like Korea, they should be doing 80,000 a day, because Korea was doing 10,000 tests per day, right? So this is great news, and I hope that this will be one of the weapons that will be able to make sure that this coronavirus will be held in check over there in America, which is a new epicenter. Another interesting news we talked about was Spain and Italy. Why are they being hit so hard? And we talked a little bit about this before, and we said that, it could be about the health system, and also particularly Italy, 1 in 4 people are over 65, which means they have lots of the elderly. There's lots of elderly people in Italy. But when I was looking at some more evidence of why Spain and Italy are being hit so hard, even more than way more than other European countries, part of it's because of culture. This is kind of interesting. And they said it's because of culture. It's well, how does culture affect them? Well, Spain and Italy are very family oriented. So what happens there is they say every week people, like the young people, go to visit their grandparents and like they kiss them and they hug them and such. So because of this type of culture where everyone is always close to each other, they're kissing each other's cheeks, and they're, they have this really friendly culture. This is why there's much more deaths, because these young people who may be asymptomatic but have the coronavirus, there's much more chances for the elderly, and especially Italy has more elderly. There's way more chances for the elderly to be affected by the coronavirus. But the most interesting part of the news for me was these arrests. Now, I said there's over 600 people arrested in Malaysia, right? This was only on Saturday, right? This is just Saturday, okay? So this is not like a 2-day thing. This is just on one day. In one day, there's about the same amount of arrests as everything from March 18th until like March 29th or 28th, I think. Yeah. So why were there 614 arrests? Right, 614 arrests in Malaysia, well, we said is not complying with the movement control order. So what was happening at this time? Well, basically, people, like, they were arrested for like 3 reasons. Okay, the first reason was they're kind of gathering in groups, right? So gathering in groups was one reason that many people were getting arrested, and obstructing public officials was another reason, and also people were actually like, what do you call it? They're like busting through police blockades. I don't know. That sounds crazy to me that people are actually trying to do this. But they said, and there were some people who were like faking or like lying about, I'm going to go shopping. And they said the police would catch these people just hanging around like 4 or 5 times, to the point they can recognize the people's faces. Right? So if you really think about this, it's a lot of what I talked about yesterday, is when people kind of get into this stress, or they're trying to dealing with change. I believe it's the second or the third stage is when people begin to resist. I think it's stage 2, right? And in stage 2, people begin to doubt and they resist. And then their behavior is they go against what people are saying. And this is why a lot of people are just, as crazy as it sounds, they are just hanging out. Now, Malaysia is very interesting because they say that 2 waves have already come to Malaysia's already had like 2 waves of the coronavirus, and some doctors are actually saying it's the 3rd wave now. Like, I was looking at some news, because those of you who don't know, like from February 28th or 29th to March 1st, there was this Islamic missions meeting, a prayer meeting. Okay, and in this meeting, 16,000 people came to a mosque, and 1,500 of them were foreigners. And after this like 2-3 day event, they went home, and then they started to find these cases of people who went to that meeting having coronavirus. And now already, they've already found, of the 16,000, already 1,000 plus are infected. And of course, there's still many, like thousands of others waiting for their test results. And from this one meeting, they say that almost half of all the infections are coming from this one meeting, or indirectly from it. Now, the reason why people are saying that the virus is kind of spreading really, really quickly in Malaysia, one reason is that many people aren't cooperating. Not cooperating means that they're not really truthful of where they went. After they're infected, what were you doing the last 2 weeks? And a lot of people aren't truthful about it. And because of this, what's happening is there's one region in Malaysia called I don't know if I'm gonna pronounce this right, but it's called like Kelantan. And doctors say that the 3rd wave is already here. Why? Is because they're finding people who are infected that are 5th degree infections. And you know what that means? It means that whoever's at that Islamic prayer meeting is 1 degree, and they give to someone else, which is 2 degrees, and that person to give to someone else, that's 3 degrees. That person gives to someone else is 4, and then that person again gives to someone else is 5 degrees, which means they're already tracing people back to 5 degrees, right? It's already, this community spreading is happening very, very quickly. So I really, really hope that people in Malaysia, as you're listening, because a lot of you guys listening to this podcast are from Malaysia, we really have to keep this this social distancing and really make sure that we're not in close contact and that we're washing our hands, because you've all heard the research done of how long the coronavirus can survive on hard metal surfaces, wooden surfaces, like 24 hours, 48 hours. And they said especially in places like bathrooms that are wet too, says they'll last even longer in that type of environment. So let's make sure that we clean up a lot. Let's make sure that we wash our hands a lot, sanitize them, and also make sure that we keep our distance. Even though we love our friends and family, keep our distance as much as possible. So I hope that a lot of us, we understand how serious this is, as we're hitting 750,000 people that have been infected. And honestly, it's way higher than this. I'm sure we're already in the millions. And the reason I know that is because, number one is, when I say things like the U.S., Italy, and Spain has passed China, I don't even think that's true, because, China is not transparent. We don't even know the real number of how many people are infected or have died in China. As we know that after they started to, after the lockdown, at a certain period of time, they kicked out all the reporters from America and other countries, and they're basically not being transparent anymore. So I really don't think that China is in fourth. I really still think that they're in first place, and it's just that they're not as transparent as we'd like them to be. But I'm very grateful that countries like Italy and Spain and the U.S. are very, very transparent about this, and that they're working actively. And you'll hear a lot of stories on the internet. There are so many engineers and people that are working on protective gear for the doctors and nurses all over the world. It's not just in America. All over the world, engineers and people are trying to find new ways, new inventions to guard and protect the people in the front line. So that's really, really inspiring news too. And of course, as you heard, with the new testing equipment and testing machines for the coronavirus, I really hope that a lot of this will die down before, as we heard in the message, until July. So everyone, let's keep praying for them and making sure that everything will work according to God's will. Now, let's move into some praise songs. We got a couple praise songs that I really, really enjoy. The first song is called The Fulfillment of Hope. And yes, the fulfillment of hope, it's already done. The hope has been fulfilled. But I also hope that we can have that type of mindset and mentality, knowing that the hope of getting past this, getting past all the dark times, all the, whether it's the financial difficulties, whether it's all the different things that we see, we can get past this and know that the hope has already been fulfilled. We just need to do our responsibility. So we're going to listen to the first song, The Fulfillment of Hope, and the second song will be All We Lived Through, from the past to the present.
Some people wait, hoping for what they expect could be. Those kind of people know a shadow of heaven's perfect joy. Even though hope may be burning in their hearts, what they're expecting will never come true. All they gain is the joy within their hearts. Such are the people who keep hoping the Lord will come. They feel heaven only within their heart and thoughts. We We have fulfilled our hope. Others haven't fulfilled theirs yet. Our joy is heaven, theirs is earth. What we have gained can't compare. Know this and be thankful each day. Sing it offer glory with all your heart, will, and your life. This is the best life, joyful and meaningful. Love doesn't leave regret. We have fulfilled our hope. Others haven't fulfilled theirs yet. Our joy is heaven, theirs is earth. What we have gained can't compare. Know this and be thankful each day. Sing it offer glory with all your heart, will, and your life. This is the best life, joyful and meaningful. Love doesn't leave regrets. Sing it offer glory with all your heart, will, and your life. This is the best life, joyful and meaningful. Love doesn't leave regrets. Sing it offer glory with all your heart, will, and your life. This is the best life, joyful and meaningful. Love doesn't leave regrets. Love doesn't leave regrets. Love doesn't leave regrets. From the past and to the present, all we lived through. All this time, the Trinity poured out grace and love. Everywhere the Holy Son was by our side, He protected us with endless love. Day and night, the Holy Spirit inspired us for her love and endless grace. We will thank and love her every day. Even through harsh tribulations, blessings came through the Trinity's deep love. Everywhere that we set our feet, they were loving us and keeping us safe. Just like the Lord, we will love them with all we have, living our whole
And that was All We Lived Through from the Past to the Present, and that was sung by Umpit. And she's from New Zealand, and also The Fulfillment of Hope, and that was sang by Amy Vollmer. So I hope that you guys have been enjoying the show so far. We're already on to our 11th episode, and I'm really happy that we've hit double digits, and of course the next goal is to hit triple digit episodes. But I do really want to hear some comments, and you put some comments and feedback up so you guys can tell me what songs you want to hear. Also, not just songs, different realizations you've had. I'd really like to hear some feedback about what you guys are experiencing as you're listening to these podcasts. I want to tell you kind of an interesting, funny story, and it's just funny because it's funny. So I have this good friend of mine, and this was like way in like 1999. Okay, so we're talking like a lot of you, not all of you, but a lot of you are probably not even born at that time. 1999, that's like 21 years ago, right? And 21 years ago, I had a friend of mine, and he was following Sunstream while he was touring Europe from 1999 to like 2002. And we met him. He went to go tour with him for like 3-4 months in 1999. And then he comes back and he tells me all these amazing stories. Okay, and I remember some of them. But there's one story. I don't know why, but there's this one story I remember more than any other story. And you'll understand why. So okay, I'm not saying that I don't remember the stories, but this is the one I remember the most. Okay, and this is crazy. So he says, living and like going around with Sunstream is very difficult, and you are basically like you got malnutrition because you're not eating, right? You're dehydrated because you're not drinking anything, and you're just so exhausted because you don't get a lot of sleep, right? So he's telling me like, man, I'm so tired and I'm so hungry and this and this. Like you have to find other ways to do this type of thing. Sneak some food here and there, and I was like, oh wow. So like, how'd you like, dude? This one time, this is what he told me. Okay, this is a story. He's like, one time, so we're sitting down his pre-dawn prayer. Right, so it's pre-dawn time, and prayer's finished, and then Sunstream begins to preach. Okay, so Sunstream's preaching pre-dawn message, right? And my friend of mine, he just said he forgot where he was. So he's sitting down on the ground, just so tired and everything else. He forgot where he was, and while he's sitting down, he lifts up his like right butt cheek, and then he farts. He farts in the middle of Sunstream's morning prayer, and there's like less than 10 people there. He just said, I completely forgot where I was. He lifted his right butt cheek. He blows out this loud fart, and as he puts his right butt cheek down, he's like, oh. And he opens his eyes. He's like, oh my gosh. And he said the reaction, like Sunstream was like really cool with it. Like basically Sunstream stopped, looked, and then just continued with the message. And after all the people are talking about it because they're like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? And my friend's like, dude, I don't know. I'm just so tired. I completely forgot that I was at morning service. And then Sunstream was preaching. And the weird thing is, all these amazing stories he's telling me, the one that I remember the most is that story. So any of you, have you ever had an embarrassing moment? I don't know if it could ever be more embarrassing than that. So I hope you enjoyed that story, because it's going to take us straight into the Word. Yeah, on that note, this goes deeply into the Word now. And the Word, like I said this week, super inspirational, good, motivational, and I still think about when Sunstream talked about the rock landscape crumbling and how God said it had to crumble. But the one interesting thing that Sunstream brings up now is he kind of, I think, now that everyone's stuck in their houses, like you can't escape each other, right? You just can't. Like you can have roommates you don't like, but now everything's going to come out. It will. Because you have no choice but to always be around this person. And even if you're separated, but during the day, like, you're not going to be separated all day. You're going to be using the common kitchen and the common area. And this is a time of peace and harmony in the household. And of course, this is talking about with your families and also with your roommates too, that this is a time that you have to bring peace and harmony into your house. We're with each other all day. And one of the best advice I heard from the message, you know what he said? Cook them delicious food. And honestly, I really believe that is one of the best answers I've ever heard. Because you're putting energy and effort, right? Energy and effort into this person. You're sacrificing for this person. And not only are you sacrificing, but you got to make it delicious. And once you have that time together, it brings this connection with each other where you can actually begin to open up. And, it's not a coincidence, because Sunsi talked about it too, is that's why the word is a parable, like food is a parable for the word. Like, what is greater icebreaker or bringing people together than amazing food? Amazing food. Like, if you go on YouTube, there's so many people and all they're doing is food review or just eating food in front of people and enjoying it, and people are having a good time watching people eat. It's nuts, but if you think about it, that's what food does, just like the word does too. And food inspires people, and food opens people's hearts. And it's a great start to get people to start talking with each other. Right? Make a mistake, right? Not a mistake. Make them a steak. Don't make a mistake. Make them a steak, right? Make them a steak. Mashed potato. Of course, I'm talking to Westerners right now when I say this, because if it was like Chinese or Japanese, I'd be like, "Ooh, cut them some sashimi," right? Make them some like gyudon. Or Chinese would be like, I don't know Chinese food as well, but make them some dim sum, some gailan, some shumai, hagao. Make it really nice, and open their hearts and begin to start peace and harmony. Back in the days, there's always peace offerings first, right? People want peace, they bring in an offering. And sometimes that peace offering that we give to each other is really, really good food. When you see someone sacrificing and someone putting their time in to cook for you and it's delicious, like, you're just thankful and grateful, and your heart opens up even more and you're able to start talking with each other. So I really, really thought that this was a great message and something that's it's reality. People who may not like each other very much or might be agitated or bothered by people right now, the best thing, you guys are together and you're going to be together for months. It's hard enough to think about just a week, but you're going to be in there more than a week, and you need to make the best of it, right? And it's something that's very interesting too, because it reminds me of something, as in people are always looking to the outside. Right? Like when it comes to church too, we need a new lecturer. We hope a lecturer is sent to our church. We need someone to help us to evangelize. We need a good leader, so we hope someone from the outside will come. And, even from the way that God does things, God always does things from the inside first. Right? That's why even Jesus came from among the people. Right? He was an Israelite himself from Bethlehem, from the lineage of David. And everyone's so busy looking on the outside, you might be thinking, "Oh man, I wish I can go out with my friends. I wish I can talk to my friends. Why can't I see them social distancing? I hate this." But actually, you have the people inside your house. And if you foster that relationship really well, then you're going to have an amazing time during this lockdown. You got to talk, make conversation, look inside your house to the people that are there, set time to do things together, cook for each other, make things delicious, right? The hero, the interesting thing is, it's almost like that hero concept of everyone's waiting for a hero from the outside to come in. And of course, it's very cliche saying, there's that song from Mariah Carey, Hero, and then a hero, no, how's it go? And then a hero comes along with the strength to, and like everyone's looking for that hero. But then at the end of the song, but the hero is in you, right? It's very cliche, but it's true, right? If you look at the story arc of a hero, when we look at heroes, we only see the results, so we think they're amazing, and they're these like incredible, incredible people. But when you look at any hero story, the story always starts with pain and suffering. And one of the reasons why people will not look to the inside, look inside their house, or look into themselves, is because the story of a hero always begins with pain and suffering. Pain, suffering, and sacrifice. And if we understand this concept, we have to be the ones willing to go through this. You see, we don't even know ourselves perfectly, because even when we learn the lesson of 3 divisions of the body, soul, and spirit, yeah, it gives you a general idea of what a human being is, but it doesn't give you that individual identity, that individual idea of who I am as an individual. Yes, I'm a bride of God. That's large picture. Yes, I'm someone with body, soul, spirit. Large picture. But then the question would be is the who am I? And we look at ourselves, and a lot of times people give up and say, oh, I don't know who I am. But then just as much as you don't know who you are, you don't know what you can be either. And this is kind of like this paradox is, yes, you might not know who you are right now, and you're going to know little by little. And you might give up because, oh, will I ever know myself? But another thing on the flip side is you really don't know what you can be either. And this is why we have to realize at this time, this lockdown time is a time of making and developing yourself and doing things according to God's will. It's really, really important. I hope that everyone understands that these last 2 weeks' message as it came out. What did it say? It says last week, it's a pair. Make yourself and then do according to God's will. Right? Make yourself and do according to God's will. In the same way, what happens next is not this one time, 1 week we make ourselves and 1 week we're used according to His will. We have to constantly be making and using, making and using, making and using. If I look at myself, I'm not sure if no one sees our own flaws, but we see it the best because we're living in it. And one by one, we have to make and develop and make these flaws into these strong parts of us so that God can use us in this way. So I really hope that a lot of you were understood, and we can even continue. Comment below. Tell me what's going on, things that you realize about the message. I would love for you to just put up a realization, and I would just read out your realization for the next podcast. That would be amazing too. So don't be afraid. Just write those comments down. Right, whether it's on YouTube, the comment section, or on SoundCloud, I would love to hear what you guys are thinking too. Now, I usually play a song at the very end, and I am going to play one. Yesterday I played one from Gary Valenciano. I hope you guys enjoyed that song. That song was so amazing, moving and touching. Every person I've let listen to it, they're just inspired by it. Today I want to have something fun, and I'm going to tell you guys something about me is when I was young, one of my most favorite groups of all time is the Backstreet Boys. I don't know why. I just love boy bands. I liked Backstreet Boys was my favorite. I also like 98 Degrees was one of my favorite. New Kids on the Block was one of my favorite too. Westlife is pretty good. And, NSYNC was okay, but it wasn't one of my favorites. But, Westlife was pretty good. And there's a lot of these boy bands that kind of came out, but particularly those three. It was Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block, and 98 Degrees. Those are like my 3 favorite ones. And today, I do want to play a Backstreet Boys song for you. One of the most all-time favorite Backstreet Boys songs of all time. It's really, really popular. It's called "I Want It That Way." But I want to play an acoustic cover of it from Boyce Avenue. Those of you who don't know Boyce Avenue, they are a band that was formed, I believe, in 2004 by 3 brothers, and their channel has over 4 billion views, and they do covers of songs, a lot of covers of songs too, and they did "I Want It That Way" acoustic version, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I'm gonna play for you "I Want It That Way" from the Backstreet Boys, and it'll be sung by Boyce Avenue as an acoustic cover.
yeah. You are my fire, the one desire. Believe when I say I want it that way, but we are two worlds apart. Can't reach to your heart when you say that I want it that way. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Am I your fire, your one desire? Yes, I know it's too late, but I want it that way. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say that I want it that way. Now I can see that we're falling apart from the way that it used to be. Yeah, no matter the distance, I want you to know that deep down inside of me, you are my fire, the one desire. You are, you are, you are. Don't wanna hear you say tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. 'Cause I want it that way.
And that was Boyce Avenue doing the cover for Backstreet Boys on I Want It That Way. Yes, it was a great version of the song. It was the first time I heard it actually yesterday. So I hope you guys enjoyed that too. And I just want to end off with a final movie recommendation. Now, this movie is considered one of the best movies of all time. It was originally written as a short story by Stephen King. I'm not sure if any of you guys know who he is, but he wrote a short story in 1982, and it was called Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. And then in 1994, it became an American drama film. Now, what's it about? It's about a banker named Andy Dufresne who was sentenced to life in Shawshank prison for the murder of his wife and his lover, but he claims that he was innocent. And then it follows him for 2 decades as he befriends a fellow prisoner, another smuggler named Ellis Redding, or Red, and becomes instrumental in a money laundering operation led by the prison warden. Okay, so it's a very, very interesting story, but the one cool thing about it is it's a very powerful movie about the core spirit, right? The spirit of the story is that it's only during the darkest times that one is able to realize the importance of doing things in different ways, thinking out of the box. And there's a lot of important life lessons from this story. So I do recommend Shawshank Redemption. Okay, so go ahead, take a look at that movie. It's really good. I hope that all of you had a wonderful time today for today's show. It's Tuesday, March 31st, the last show of March. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Believe in yourself and believe in somebody.
Gotta believe in yourself.